Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be another episode of Reforge Gaming News covering the latest update from Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm going to argue why I think it's basically too little too late. I know gamers throw that expression out all the time. My main argument in contention during the stream will be that this is never going to be a game with a comeback moment. You're not going to convince people who don't like the game to like the game. It's primarily only going to satisfy people who have enjoyed the game basically from the beginning or did everything they could to enjoy it. So right here at the beginning of the video, I am going to give you the breakdown of what they said and kind of the argumentation, and we do this at the beginning so that way you can get all the info, and then the rest of the stream is the discussion. Make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button so you're here for the live streams. Also consider doing a membership. We are doing members only content on the channel now on Thursday afternoons and Friday nights, so $5 a month gets you into those streams. This is a Reforge update. Cyberpunk 2077 took to a live stream to say that they know the game still has a long way to go and expansions are on the way, but why do I think this is too little too late? If you like these quick Reforge updates, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss my uploads, or check out Reforge Gaming where I streamed this live. So I'm going to cover what was said, why I don't think it matters, and this is just more than updates. They did reference expansions, and I'll read the quote to you. So Game Informer covered this and said, CD Projekt Red finally released the new gen update for Cyberpunk back in February, and it brought with it driving overhauls, improved weapons, better crowds, and a lot more. In fact, one Game Informer editor thinks now is the time to play Cyberpunk. So I like how they say one one Game Informer editor. I actually don't think it's worth picking up still. If you didn't like it before, I don't think your mind will be changed by these updates. I found the graphical performance on the PlayStation 5 to be embarrassingly still pretty bad, especially in the environments that needed it the most, and I also still found dialogue to be drab and poorly executed. It just isn't doing the things you need this game to do. If you're already a fan, you were probably thrilled. If you were on the fence, I don't think you'll be convinced by anything that they did. Now, what was said recently, it was first reported by The Gamer. Sasko recently streamed gameplay from Cyberpunk 2077, and during the stream, he touched on the team's work with the title. He said, quote, "We're still improving the game because we are all aware that there is work to be done. We are happy you guys like 1.5, and that gives us more incentive to work for you guys because you show your appreciation for it. That's as much as I can tell you. We are working on stuff for you. I'm literally daily reviewing quests, talking to people about stuff, so it is happening." So again, I'm not convinced by any of this. Now, he goes on to say this is more than just updates, because I do think some people are concerned that, listen, if all you're doing is quality of life updates and tweaking things, that's not really enough. Many people have wanted this game to have sort of a No Man's Sky moment, a comeback moment, you know, this big turning point for the game, and he had the following to say. "I cannot tell you anything about our future plans, but I can assure you that we are working on expansions. We are working on stuff for you guys. I cannot tell you anything about our future plans, but they're working on expansions." So the fact that expansions are mentioned to me could be the selling point for some people to come and play. If they add a substantive content ad that's far more better designed than the core game, that might convince some people to come play. My general contention is that too much mediocrity is baked into this game. It's supposed to be a game where the dialogue and the characters and the story pulls you in. That's one of the primary things people tell me about. They're like, you've really got to get into the story. I think there's a giant failure in that regard. I don't think the voice acting's very good. I think the writing's okay, and the audio execution is abysmal. There's these weird hanging points in dialogue where somebody says something and then the next person is supposed to talk and it doesn't work, right? They just kind of sit there, and it ruins the immersion and it makes the dialogue feel sort of busted. I've seen better editing on TikTok videos where one person has a conversation with themselves for comedic effect, and in this game, it's like no one's having a conversation. You can clearly sense that the NPCs are sort of glitched out. In addition to the conversations and the dialogue feeling wooden and broken and not that interesting, and that breaking immersion. There's also just problems with combat. Combat still doesn't feel very good. There's a clunkiness to the game. I feel like I'm playing some kind of an indie tech test or something. Doesn't feel like a AAA polished game. So my contention, and I'm going to argue with people like this about this on my Reforge Gaming channel for the live stream, I don't think this game has a future. I really don't. I think they're going to appease existing fans, but it's never going to have its big comeback moment, and they're just going to slowly divert their attention to The Witcher. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, hit subscribe and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'll see you all right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I really just don't. The more I've thought about this, the more I've played this game, and the more I've looked at it, every time they trot out an update or a promise, I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. Like, the game itself, it's just not a good game. I know you guys don't like when I wail on Cyberpunk, but I saw this, and after my last sort of bout with the game, sort of like diving in and trying it out, I'm just like, I actually don't think this game has a future. And what I mean is, I don't think they will ever convert people who don't like the game right now. Like, if you kind of liked it, if you were on the fence, if you tried it, and you've always wanted to come back, I think there's a likelihood that they can convince you. But for the rest of us that haven't liked it since the beginning, I just don't think so. I don't think there's hope for it. Yo, what's good, Kat? Good morning, everybody. By the way, go through your morning ritual, right? Smash a like button. Make sure you're on live chat. If you haven't been seeing my streams, YouTube has been fiddling with stuff, so make it a point every morning to check your subscriber feed or just check my channel. If you like hanging out here every morning, we stream every morning as well as the afternoon, right? If I take a day off, you'll know it. We'll let you know in advance, or we'll announce it on Twitter or Discord if I'm not feeling well or something, which is incredibly rare. They are messing with live streams. So if you haven't been seeing my streams, make sure your notifications are turned on. Make sure you're checking the channel every day. Don't forget, we have added membership incentives now. So for $5 a month, every Friday night I'm streaming with my wife. That's members only. We're adding an extra stream on Thursday afternoons, purely for members to ask questions and get into like debates and hot take discussions about stuff maybe I haven't covered this week in gaming. And then once a month is community game night. So Friday, April 22nd, we will be playing Fortnite no-build squads. I don't care if you don't like the game. If you're a member, show up. It'll be fun, okay? We're just playing for fun. We're going to be drinking and playing no-build Fortnite. And it's completely cross-play and completely free. So, get it and be here that night. That, again, is another member incentive. If you've never been a member here before, consider clicking the join button or using the join command. $5 a month gets you into all that extra stuff. So, let's go. Yo, what's good, feed? I see you in the chat. All right, Cyberpunk 2077, let's see, does it have a future? Yes or no? Does it have a future? Pretty basic. Whether or not you played the game is irrelevant. I want to know if you agree with me. Does it have a future? And I want to debate people that think that it does have a future. Yo, Naberto coming in for a whole year of membership and decided to do a tier 2. That's very kind. Membership perks, you say? I might be enticed to click that button. My man, welcome back. Private lobbies in Fortnite probably won't work initially. We won't have enough people. If you've ever been here for a community game night, you know why I'm saying that. We generally don't have hundreds and hundreds of people here. We only have about 400 members. So, I mean, if every single member showed up and wanted to play, well, yeah, I would do a lobby. But that's probably not going to be the case. Wabi Sabi says, I played the first few hours and just found myself bored. Scott Irving says, CD Projekt Red can never have a comeback moment with Cyberpunk. They are barely doing anything. Modders are actually fixing the game. African Jedi says, it's so unfortunate that it doesn't have a future. Such a good concept, but executed wrong. Nick says, I installed Fortnite and had 2 matches. First match I came 3rd, and then I came 12th in the second match. It's not bad, really. Yeah, I actually think no build is fun. It's got to be a blast with a squad. I don't think no build is fun by yourself because you end up playing bots and aim assist. So, yeah, especially if you're mouse and keyboard. Guys, smash that like button. We only need 50 more likes for the first 100 likes. Let's try to have a strong start today. Like I said, YouTube's been fiddling with stuff, so we're trying something a little bit different. If you looked at the thumbnail, we're going to a more branded thumbnail like we do over on Reforge Radio, and trying to put more of an opinion on the thumbnail to get folks to come in and debate and discuss, because that's really what makes the show enjoyable. So if you are here throughout the week, we welcome that. Come in, tell me I'm wrong, fight me, right? Argue with me. Unpopular opinion, I really liked Cyberpunk when I played it in January, and it didn't have too many bugs on PC. I will say this, that if you are going to play it, the absolute best place to play it is PC. That's where it has fared the best with community review and feedback and critiques and scores from players. Like, that's where it has tended to do the best. I say yes, but a very small yes, says Metanoia. They lost the mainstream hype, but I do believe it will have a small to medium fan base during and after the updates and DLC. And that's kind of where I'm standing on it. I'm like, I don't think you will ever get people to come to the game that already don't like it. Like, I've got it installed on my PlayStation 5 every time they do an update, and I check it out. And every time I'm like, I just think this game sucks. Like, this is not a good game. No matter how much you do to fix it, it just has too much mediocrity baked into the crust. It just isn't good from the ground up, no matter how much you smooth it over, right? They want to get away from Cyberpunk ASAP, says Reckless Gambit. When they say anything contrary, it's to appease the mob. Unatoned Gaming says this game will always have a cult following. Heck, right now at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, there's 10,000 people playing on Steam alone. That's crazy. That's actually crazy to me, that it's got such a committed audience. That's wild to me. Yeah, today's shirt is from the 80s Tees Black Panther collection. You can use code Lono for 30% off, and the shirt command in chat will take you to the Black Panther collection over at 80s Tees. Always make sure if you support us by using one of our sponsors that you do get the discount, whether it's Displate by using my link or when you use my code on 80s Tees. I think some people were going to 80s Tees and getting the discount by just putting their email in, and it was the same amount, and I wasn't getting credit for those. So make sure you use my code or my links. That's more than Infinite. I was waiting for somebody to say that, Eugene. That's more than Halo Infinite. Oh, golly. It's just one guy running 10,000 sessions, says Zubair. Sadly, gone too early. Wakanda forever. Oh, yeah, exactly. Chadwick was such a... that's a big loss. That's not just a loss for the industry or MCU. It's a loss for humanity. He was such a good guy. Cyberpunk should have won Game of the Year. Almost spit out my light roast typing this. Speaking of light roast, we didn't have any coffee sales yesterday. Who wants to be the first coffee order? The coffee's not a sponsor. It's ours. My wife and my kids bag it up. We have a light roast and a dark roast. The balanced acidity makes it very drinkable. If you're a big-time coffee drinker or not at all, the light roast is so smooth. Put a little bit of creamer in it. I use Italian sweet cream. My wife actually doesn't use creamer, and she says that's like the best creamer for it. I'm sure on PS5 I could get plenty of enjoyment out of it for $5. I've spent 4 times that on way worse games. Right, at that price point, it's really hard to resist, I'm sure. Cyberpunk was a cash grab, but then again, what games aren't nowadays? Every product is a cash grab. I mean, they want your money. They're trying to get, they're trying to get cash from you. I find the cash grab statements and criticisms to be hard to interact with, because I'm not saying this about you in particular, but generally speaking, when people say cash grab, it's like you're not saying much. Like, everything is basically a cash grab. It's an opportunity to get, we want people to spend money. Like, that's kind of the point. Let's see. Even if Cyberpunk came out perfect, the story was would maybe win Sound Awards or Visual Awards, not Game of the Year. I use silk creamer since lactose doesn't sit well. Yeah, my wife uses a milk frother, and she froths like almond milk, so she's okay with dairy, but that's a great way to stay away from the dairy if it bothers you. Did you know it was a PlayStation and Lego that both put $1 million into Epic? That's our second show today, so try to shelve that commentary, questions, or input. I'm going to be talking in our second talk show today about Sony putting $1 billion into Epic along with Lego, and I'm telling you, man, all roads lead to Fortnite. That's the second show of today. The third show today, we are talking Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and the court case that is starting. You might be shocked at my take on this. I've actually kind of adjusted my position a little bit after some lengthy research last night. So that will be the afternoon stream on Reforge Radio. So here on Gaming, we do 2 shows a day. It's all safe for work. Reforge Radio gets a little bit more serious and into cultural, political, even matters of faith. It's a more serious channel. So if you like that idea, check out that channel as well. If you like the story about Epic and Sony and Lego, we'll be talking about that for our second talk show. But right now, we want to know what you think about Cyberpunk, okay? This Cyberpunk 2077 update that came out of a stream. Does it have a future? 150 votes already are kind of proving my point. It's split right down the middle, 52% to 48%. Most people are saying no by a very small margin. My contention is you will never convince the people that don't like the game. You're never going to win them over. This game will not have a comeback moment. It's not going to happen. I don't think so. I recently bought an espresso machine, and I was thinking about frothing almond milk. Have you tried it frothed as well? I've tried it frothed. I need a little bit more sweetness in my coffee gritter, but it is very cool. My wife loves it. That's how she has her coffee every day. So if my wife gives something an endorsement, it's usually pretty good. That's just been my experience. I think it's enjoyable at certain points, says Duncan. I actually just got next gen, so I bought Cyberpunk 2077 last night. I played it on current gen, and it wasn't good, but enjoyable at certain points. Yeah, it's basically unplayable on the old. Well, I mean, I guess current gen, next gen gets a little confusing. In my mind, PS5 and Xbox Series X, that's current gen now. We've been in that. It's hard to say that, right? Because the saturation and the sales aren't where we want them because of the shortages on chips still. Sven says, I think the passion is clearly there to make Cyberpunk the game that they want it to be, but poor management has proven over their game releases they need to do a better job during launches. I just don't think this game has a chance to ever have a comeback moment. I think it can get to a much better place, right? I am not that cynical, but I don't think it can have a comeback moment. I don't think it's possible. As I've said, my flyby statement is there's just too much mediocrity baked into the crust of this game. There's too many things that just aren't good at their core. I usually just chill and listen, says Dustin. I appreciate your effort towards staying informed in the gaming industry. I really enjoyed Cyberpunk 2077, but I agree they have a lot of work to do. Okay, I'm curious, Dustin. You and the people that like the game, okay? This is a question for the people that are like, oh no, the game has a future. I think the game can have a comeback, and on down the line. Do you think people like me that have never been able to find anything about it that's redeeming or enjoyable or good, do you think the game can ever win us over? At the end of the day, do you foresee that rudder turn ever happening? I'm actually curious. The people that don't like the game obviously are going to be more prone to think that. I'm curious what people that like the game think. Do you think I'm right? Is it primarily only ever really going to appeal to people that already like the game? And to the rest of us, it's like, it's just a lost cause. There's not something there to really hook us and tether us. How many players do you need to see to call it a comeback? Is 10K bad? Well, I'm not actually saying the game, the current player base numbers are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't see the game ever getting to where it has a comeback moment. It has survived. There's a big, giant difference between surviving and having a comeback. I don't know how bad or good was No Man's Sky this many months post-released. When did they really start to turn it around? Like timeline? 9 to 12 months after release, it was a very different game. I would argue that they had done almost a complete 180 about a year in, and Cyberpunk's been out longer than that, I believe. Yo, GNS, first new member of the day. Welcome to Reforge Gaming. If you guys want to click that join button or become a member, you get a badge and emotes to use in chat. You also get access to extra streams. On Thursday, we'll be doing an extra stream just for members. It'll be basically a third stream. We're not taking away your daily streams. Don't worry. And then on Friday nights, the stream with my wife you get access to. We'll be playing again this week and having drinks and laughs. And once a month, that Friday night stream is Community Game Night. And this month, Community Game Night falls on April the 22nd. We'll be playing Fortnite. No build squads. I don't even care if you don't like the game. We're going to have fun. We're not going to take it serious. We're going to drink and play no build Fortnite squads, okay? What could possibly go wrong? And it's members only. Dustin, my dude, says, I think it could. I would say it depends on what you want Cyberpunk to be. For me, it's a fun sandbox to run around. The game needs to be stable across platforms prior to convincing anyone. Okay, I'm going to engage with this because I think this is helpful. This is actually very thoughtful, right? It depends on what you want Cyberpunk to be. I like the way you framed that. Here's what I want. If I can't get into the story, the dialogue, and the characters, then I at least need to be able to enjoy the combat and the RPG aspects. And I feel like both are in a very, very mid-lane. They're very mediocre, okay? I know some of that's opinion, but a very general and ongoing consensus from lots of people has been that the RPG elements aren't that good, the combat's kind of clunky and weird, and the dialogue and the voice acting's not that amazing, right? GNS says, in for the double dip. Love you, Lono. I appreciate you guys double dipping, man. That's very, very kind. I really, really hope to see the membership continue to climb in response to the membership stuff. I really do. We'd love to see about 500 members on both channels. That would be such a huge turning point for everything we've been working on, because we made a lot of changes 6 months ago, and it's been amazing, and now we're kind of in phase 2. Okay, we survived the big changes in the rebrand. Now can we grow a member base? That's kind of the question. So anybody helping with that, thank you very much. Distorted says the game's already been given a permanent negative name, and all the people who haven't played it yet will continue to always think of it that way. A single player game cannot have a No Man's Sky moment. Now, I disagree with your qualification at the end. I don't think a single-player game is held back from having its moment, because so much of what they did in No Man's Sky had nothing to do with multiplayer. So much of the quality and so much of the improvement has very, very little to do with the multiplayer. Now, obviously, once you could start building and getting on planets together and playing together, sure. But I would actually hazard a guess that about 75 to 80% of what they shoved into No Man's Sky that made it better didn't have anything to do with you playing with other folks. That's obviously my opinion, but if you list all the things they added and all the updates and all the quality and all the greatness in No Man's Sky, I don't think much of it touches multiplayer. It usually centers around your experience as a single player. Why don't you enjoy the current story of Cyberpunk? I'll tell you. I believe that Cyberpunk fails at the fundamentals of storytelling, okay? So the fundamentals of storytelling is to have compelling characters and dialogue and tension, okay? That's it. Like, I'm not an expert in writing books and movies, but, like, when I look at a story, it has to have compelling characters, compelling story, characters, and dialogue. No, characters, dialogue, and tension. That's what you need. I need compelling characters and dialogue, and there's got to be some tension, okay? I believe they fail at those fundamentals, and here's why. Let's just talk about characters. The characters are brilliantly designed and look amazing. Voice acting is mostly atrocious for a AAA title. If you compare this game's voice acting to any other top-shelf game, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up to the voice acting of Horizon Forbidden West. It doesn't hold up to The Witcher 3. It doesn't hold up to Hellblade. It doesn't hold up to Returnal. Go to any game that has voice acting that has been praised, and this game doesn't hold up. It doesn't. It doesn't seem built by a AAA company. Okay, so if I need character dialogue and I need tension, characters fail to be interesting and compelling because of the voice acting. Dialogue. Let's talk about the dialogue. So much of the dialogue is cheesily written. It feels like it was written by a 13-year-old who learned how to use swear words. It doesn't. This is slightly subjective. I can't objectively make a case that Cyberpunk has bad dialogue, right? The voice acting was awesome. I've had super fans of the game admit that much of the voice acting falls flat, especially if you pick the male character. Apparently, the female lead in the game has a pretty good voice, and she does a good job. All right, look, Black Superman, I want you to compare the voice acting in this game to Deathloop. As much as I don't like Deathloop, Deathloop's voice acting is top shelf. It's award worthy. The protagonist and the antagonist are absolutely remarkable. And in this game, if you pick the dude, he's so unremarkable and uninteresting and flat. He sounds dead and bored half the time, okay? Now, again, I know this is subjective. I'm just telling you why Lono thinks that this game fails at the fundamentals of storytelling. The characters deliver their dialogue in such flat ways, okay, that the voice acting, I don't think, gets anywhere, right? Even the Keanu Reeves voice acting, I don't think is that great, all right? Now let's talk about the dialogue. Again, this is my opinion, but I believe when you look at other dialogue-driven games that make you interested in what's going on, whether it's Ghost of Tsushima, like, I'm reading subtitles in Ghost of Tsushima, so the writing's got to be amazing, right? I did the Japanese voice actors in both Tsushima as well as Sekiro, right? And for me, just the writing in those games alone, I think stands apart and is fantastic, right? Now, tension. I believe that their efforts to create tension fail fundamentally because of those other two things. If you're going to have tension between character A and B, they've got to be interesting characters that are well voice acted and well written, or no one's going to give a crap. Look at so much of my criticism around the prequels in Star Wars. You don't care what's happening because the voice acting and the writing and the acting doesn't pull you in, okay? And yes, there's voice acting in Star Wars, okay? Some of the best voice acting in Star Wars is in Rogue One with K2SO, okay? So that is why I feel it fails. Now, what's underneath all of this is a game mired in technical problems. So when you're in a scene, let's say I thought the characters were dope. Let's say I thought the writing was good and the voice acting was good. It kind of doesn't matter when the dialogue goes like this. We need to get out of here. And everybody stands around and somebody finally goes, I know, I'm thinking. Like, there's these weird immersion breaking lulls because the audio handoff isn't working or something. It's so awkward. As I said in the open, I've seen better editing in a TikTok video where a guy has a conversation with himself. I sent a video to Pico. I couldn't believe how funny it was. It was this guy arguing with himself, back and forth at the table. He's playing two people, and the one guy's like a huge fan of the IRS. It is absolutely brilliant. It's brilliantly written and acted. It's just one guy creating tension over the awkwardness of like one guy who like loves the IRS and why that would be like an awkward conversation. That TikTok alone, I think, shows just how bad this game is. I can watch a 60-second comedically edited TikTok video that has better tension, writing, voice acting, and dialogue than any of the scenes I ever experienced in Cyberpunk. It just all falls flat. And even if you say, voice acting's fine, Lono, characters are fine, dialogue's fine, okay, the technical problems really harm any of that value that you see. If you see value in those things, that's fine. This is subjective. I'm not telling you how to feel about the game. If you see value in those things, I believe the technical problems take away a lot of that value. They really, really do. I feel like I could say the same for Ghost. Jin was a pretty boring protagonist. I think Jin was exactly what he needed to be. He was torn between the calm and the storm. He was torn between the way of the samurai and the ghost. There was a calmness about him, but there was a vengeance and an anger that would creep up. That's what made his decisions and his transformation and his arc so interesting, because you could tell him and his father, his uncle, were very much in that sort of wanting to stay controlled, wanting to stay zen, wanting to stay calm, pushing the emotions down. Like, that's what makes his character so interesting. He needs to feel flat and sort of like level, so that when he starts to break from the path, of the samurai, that's a huge deal. I just bought Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. What do you think about that game? I just bought it 5 minutes ago. The Witcher 3 with all the DLC is probably one of the greatest games you can play. The combat's a little clunky, but if you can eat around the fat in the early game, the combat gets better. You start to upgrade certain things and fluidity is achieved. It is a little clunky. That's the one thing about The Witcher 3 that most people admit, that combat's a little tough in the beginning, not because it's tough, but because it's a little clunky. Flip the poll chat, says Greenside. Yeah, I want to know what you think. We're talking the latest Cyberpunk 2077 update saying that expansions are on the way. I'm asking you, does this game have a future? Almost 300 votes. Most people are saying yes, 52 to 48%. So it's a small margin, but the yeses are currently winning. Are y'all saying it gets better after 50 hours? Having him being a ticking time bomb made no sense if you just wanted to fully explore Cyberpunk's world. Being on a timer ruins the pacing for you. Oh, you're talking about something specific. Techno says, No Man's Sky didn't try to PR spin their mistakes. They were radio silent until they had fixes and updates come out. So, trust us to fix it later, PR marketing speak. Oh, they didn't do any of that. They just did it. Techno, I actually really appreciate the point that you're making. I really do think that's part of the problem here, is that I think people are kind of annoyed with, quit talking to us about what you're going to do. Quit talking to us about how much you believe you can do, and just do it. And fundamentally, see, this is where No Man's Sky had an advantage. No Man's Sky launched a minimum viable product that they could build upon. So as they built, enhanced, expanded, and grew No Man's Sky, it started to feel like a piece of equipment that was getting upgraded and augmented and added on to. Cyberpunk doesn't feel that way. Cyberpunk feels like it is inherently flawed. It is, like I said, there's mediocrity baked into the game, which will always be there. Jin is a boring character as a pure samurai, but as the game progresses and he breaks with the code, he becomes a much more dynamic character. This is exactly right. This is why the dialogue in Ghost of Tsushima is so important, because he's constantly torn between rallying his friends for help and vengeance, and those people being consumed by vengeance, and him sort of seeing that and always trying to kind of guard against it, but himself also dealing with that pull toward vengeance. Like, it's a very, very well told story. Really, you've got to pay attention to the dialogue he has on the side missions. I think that's some of the most important character development of Jin, as well as the supporting cast. The product manager speak with MVP. Minimum viable product. That's right. That's right. There is an internet historian video called The Ingoodening of No Man's Sky. I recommend watching it to see how Hello Games handled their failure and how they re-earned trust. That actually sounds really interesting to me. From a technical perspective, says Dustin, my dude, Cyberpunk is beyond crazy. The city, the NPCs, the hundreds of quests, and gameplay mechanics are very intriguing. It just isn't done. And I think that's the issue, right? Is it so much... A lot of people felt this way about Biomutant. Biomutant tried to do so many things, and none of the things felt complete. None of the things felt fully baked or fully developed. It felt very underbaked and underdeveloped. It felt spread very thin, right? And I think there's a similar feeling with Cyberpunk. It's like, you guys tried to do so many things, and at a fundamental level, you didn't really achieve excellence in any of the categories. If the dialogue was kind of blasé and the voice acting was kind of ho-hum, you'd hear about people criticizing that, but then people would say, well, it kind of makes up for it because the combat feels amazing and the RPG depth is there. But then when you look at the combat and the way that it feels and the experience and the way that the RPG depth is handled, you're like, dude, Cyberpunk gameplay just also feels kind of mediocre. There's just so much mediocrity in the game. It's not that it, and see, this is how I want to say it. It's not that the game is bad from the bottom to the top. It never gets out of the category of it's done, it's okay. Like, it came out of the oven and it's edible, but it's barely edible. Have you ever watched these cooking shows? My wife and I have been working our way through like the British Bake Off show. We love that show. The hosts are hilarious, right? The two comedy guys, Vince and the other guy. I feel bad not knowing his name. I've never actually seen him like introduced, but he's hilarious. I think he's actually funnier than Vince. Anyway, one of the things that happens on that show is they'll say, you know, they'll be like taking a bite and they'll be like, oh, it's barely edible. You took it out too early. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like it's barely edible. You took it out too early, you know? Old Greg, that's right. So, yeah, it's like it's barely edible, man. Barely. It was bad when it was released, not edible. I would actually say it was barely edible on PC. On the older consoles, it shouldn't have launched. That's not really even debated anymore. I don't know if anybody would actually argue that point and say, oh, no, yeah, it was totally fine to release it on the old consoles and have it be barely playable. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody defends that. I don't. You guys, thank you so much. Anybody who's been following us on TikTok. I know it's weird to promote TikTok, but they are really doing some good efforts with live streaming and content creation that could work really well for us to simulcast. So we need 1,000 followers over there. If you use TikTok, it's just Reforge TV. I was just checking on it. A lot of people went over there and followed us yesterday. Thank you for that. Both Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, if you use those platforms, all of those are Reforge TV. At Reforge TV, if you love those platforms or use them. Corey says, I think CD Projekt Red needs to do more to improve the gameplay and performance and apologize less for Cyberpunk. They tried to please everyone, and that never works. The best they can hope for is to be a cult classic. That is essentially my contention. So if you're tuning in for the Cyberpunk update, right, and the latest thing that they said is, you know, expansions are on the way, okay? And take the poll at the top of the chat. We kind of want to know, do you think the game has a future? Because I don't think that it does. But I do think what Corey is saying is true, and that's part of my prediction. I think long-term, this game will never convert people that are not already converted, if that makes sense. As Corey says, it'll be a cult classic. I think they can pull that off. I think it will be beloved by the people who already love it. Like the people that have tried it and given another try and given another try and try to jump back in, none of those people will ever be convinced that the game's come far enough. That's my prediction. What's the update? So one of the devs was streaming, and he acknowledged that the game still has a long way to go and confirmed that expansions are on the way. And I just wanted to start leaning more heavily. We got feedback yesterday from you guys, from the audience, that you guys wanted me to lean more heavily into opinion as opposed to just telling you the news. So that's the news, okay? My opinion on it is this game doesn't have a future. I don't see this game ever having its comeback moment. I think it's got too much mediocrity baked into it. I don't think it'll ever rise above that. That's my opinion. I think even the people that love the game kind of sense and know that it will never rise to the place of converting and convincing people to come over. 7 months of membership from Deadly Dad Gaming. They could turn Cyberpunk around if they convert it into an RP style similar to GTA. Thank you for renewing your membership, Deadly Dad Gaming. We have launched for the first time ever on this channel members only content. There'll be an extra stream on Thursday afternoons and a Friday night stream with my wife. One Friday night stream every month is a community game night, and that's members only. This month it'll be on April the 22nd. We'll be playing Fortnite no build squads, just having drinks and laughing. I don't care if you don't like the game. It's on every platform and it's crossplay. We're just going to play and have fun. Consider pressing the join button. For $5 a month, you get access to all that extra content in our Discord. You couldn't pay me to play Cyberpunk, says Hex. It's definitely making a comeback in my opinion. So Black Superman, you think it's making a comeback? Sandybot says, I think what blew my mind about Cyberpunk was the lore. There was a data card I found talking about how religion evolved into the rise of augmentation, and I was like, wow. I'm actually reading a book about that, and it talked about the gospel of technology is like a thing. Like, there's not like a church or anything like that. It's more of like a zoomed out philosophical analyzation of culture. And the confidence in technology is giving rise to, you might actually see that happen. It's not beyond the pale, I don't think, to see humanity get to a point where they think technology is their savior for literally everything. Physical abnormalities, death, sickness, saving the earth from destruction, leaving the earth. Like, I think there are people that have like an ultimate, infinite view of technology. They don't see it as like something limited in scope or possibility. They see it as like an infinite thing. Like, that's so it's not surprising. I think you'll start to see that. Funny enough, if you watch movies from 5 to 10 years ago, and you look at a lot of the series that are still running, like Walking Dead and stuff, there was really, really this huge push for like post-apocalyptic view, like their anthropology, which is the view of man, right? The study of man, your philosophy of man, right? The idea that like everything's going to just be bad. And now I think you're going to see a rise in a more optimistic view of humanity's existence, and it's going to be tied to technology. That's why I think Cyberpunk was a cool concept. Let's go super far into the future and just see what would happen if people fully integrate with technology at every level, whether it's a physical way, spiritual way, sexual way. Like, there's all kind of ways that you could see people more fully integrating with technology. I think you're already seeing the beginnings of technological integration that's leading to mechanistic behavior, and I believe Twitter is the catalyst for that. I believe people are living, behaving, and acting in more mechanistic ways. Their view of people is more mechanistic, and I don't think it's good or healthy. Cyberpunk is an example of what happens when a developer tries to please everyone. It tries to be so much. It's a sort of a jack of all trades, master of none. Well, and usually in a video game, right? Usually in a video game, you can be both. Like, I believe you can be a jack of all trades and a master of something. But what ends up happening usually is they sort of rest on quantity as opposed to quality in games that attempt that. The idea being that if we put enough stuff in the game, whether it's stuff to do or systems to interact with, quality can be at like a 6 or a 7. Does that make sense? So if you're... Think of it this way, if you were going to be creating... This actually touches on mass production of really anything. Mass production of food is a great example of this, right? The quality of the food is, there's an acceptable level of quality degradation when you're mass producing something. So when you buy a cheeseburger from a fast food restaurant, you accept a certain amount of quality degradation because you are getting something that is quantitatively mass produced, right? So we already think in these ways, and we don't really buck up against it. You don't go to some drive-through and spend $6 to $7 and expect a gourmet meal. You're like, what is this, right? You're not going to a 5-star world-class restaurant where the burger is $25, and then the fries are another $10. You're going to a fast food restaurant. So I think in video games, you see similar things take place when the quantity is turned way up. And again, this could be quantity of content or quantity of systems. Those systems and that content, there is, I think, a natural degradation of quality. You see this in games that do what we call the Assassin's Creed map puke. They just puke on the map. It's just all this crap everywhere. Okay, well, when you do your 7th chase mission or your 25th, stealth mission, the quality you start to sense in the missions, it's not quite there. It's okay, you accept it. You accept that, like, that helps the content loop in the game be bigger, broader, whatever. But you generally don't expect the depth of storytelling, world building, character building to be there when you're playing your 14th mission that is, I've kind of done this, right? I've kind of done this before, okay? And that, I think, is what happens with games like Cyberpunk. They generally put in so many systems, and all of those systems simply cannot attain high levels of quality because of the quantity. And if you look at Cyberpunk, there's decisions that seem so bizarre. That, like, a whole tutorial on how to get into car combat, and then it never comes back, okay? That's a perfect example. That's a microcosmic example of the macrocosmic problem of Cyberpunk, right? I don't even know if macrocosmic is a term. I just made it one. You can see it in that. It's like, what the frick? Why is this even in here? You have a tutorial for vehicular combat, and then I never do it ever again? Okay? What about the dream state sequences where you're, like, stealthily using the cameras? It's like a 40-minute tutorial on how to do it, and people are like, yeah, you only do it like 3 times in the whole game. Well, what the frick? What? Why? Why'd you spend all this time building this? Rewinding and fast-forwarding time and looking for clues and slowly scanning? Huh? Like, why? And again, it's like, you've got this quantity driver. Well, we've got this and this and this and this. And you're like, okay, well, none of it's very good. Again, I know, it's my opinion. You might think all those things are awesome. Biomutants struggle with the same thing. We got this system and that system, and this system has a subsystem within its system, and system. And you're like, none of this is very good, man. It all seems very half-baked. They patched it now so you can skip that brain dance at the beginning. They heard you. They must have watched one of my streams. They're like, oh my gosh, he's right. The 5-hour tutorial, 45 minutes of it is this friggin' brain dance. What? The Inconvenient Truth says, it won't have a comeback like No Man's Sky because No Man's Sky actually put everything in the game they originally said was going to be in the game. I don't think Cyberpunk will ever do that. You make up a lot of words that make sense in the context of the convo. Example, unmitigatable. Unmitigatable sounds so much better than unmitigable. Unmitigable sounds like somebody falling down the stairs. You know when someone's like, you know when they like kind of stutter? You know when you don't fall and tumble down the stairs like a toddler. You just kind of like, you get that little rumble. Like unmitigable. It sounds like somebody's falling down the stairs. Unmitigatable sounds so much better. And you can clap with it. You're like, unmitigatable damage. I stand by unmitigatable. I think it's a superior word. I really do. In any case, can we get 200 likes on this video? We are at 185. Let's get 15 more likes. If you've never been here before, Monday through Friday, I go live in the morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. We do a talk show. Then we typically do a second talk show or gameplay. So we do 2 streams a day here, okay? If sometimes you don't see me live or I'm not in your feed, just check the channel. I'm live Monday through Friday. I'm also safe for work, okay? You can subscribe in confidence. I'll give you that video game radio show Monday through Friday, variety gaming news coverage. Thank you so much for being here, smashing like, and taking our poll. We're talking about the Cyberpunk 2077 update that came from one of the developers in a stream saying expansions are on the way, and I'm asking you, does this game have a future? Many of you are saying yes, about half, 53% say yes, 47% say no. If you've never done a membership on YouTube, we do offer members-only content. We just launched it this week. There's an extra stream on Thursday afternoon and a Friday night stream with my wife. Once a month, that Friday night stream is Community Game Night. This month, that falls on April the 22nd. April the 22nd, we'll be playing Fortnite, no-build squads. I don't care if you don't like Fortnite. We're going to have fun. We're not going to take it serious. We're going to kind of drink, laugh, and mess around. So that's not this Friday. It's next. If you want to be a part of any of that stuff, $5 a month on a membership gets you there. We're having to offer member incentives because we weren't doing it, and we obviously weren't growing the members because we weren't giving you a reason other than just to support the channel. And then there's commands in the corner here. That's all the other ways you can support the channel. Would you rather play Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky? Oh, I'd rather play No Man's Sky. Now, that's preferential, though. That doesn't mean that it's better. So, Deathloop versus Cyberpunk, which are you playing? Deathloop. I think people need to understand, I didn't, hate Deathloop, okay? Me and Deathloop I have a vendetta against that game because it took way too many spots during the Game Awards that should have been Returnal. Look at every nomination for Deathloop, and if Returnal wasn't in that running, that game took Returnal's spot because they were similar in some respects. And that's why I don't like Deathloop. I don't dislike Returnal. I'm sorry, I don't dislike Deathloop just to dislike it. It's because it got really unfair media darling treatment, and that's why. 1,000 yen from Jeffrey Richards. I like the game, but it needed 5 years more in the cooker. Should have been this gen. The story gives the player no power of its end, and the tabletop has far more guns and other options. Thank you for the 1,000 yen. Thank you for the tip. I appreciate that very, very much. One of the problems with just being it needed to cook longer, it needed to bake longer, I actually think games can cook too long, and they end up feeling like they're out of time. It's and I don't mean out of time like when you run out of time. I mean this is old. Does that make sense? It feels like a relic in some respect. That's $1 million. Oh my gosh, I wish. That's not Mr. Beast in disguise giving me a crispy million. No, it was just shy of $8. So thank you. 1,000 yen does sound pretty cool though. Deathloop was my game of the year last year, but if I stacked it up against my 2020 top 5, it wouldn't be higher than 4. Yeah, I mean, it launched. Deathloop launched in a drought, okay? Now, somebody said Cyberpunk or Anthem. Oh, I'd probably play Anthem over Cyberpunk. I liked Anthem. I think Anthem had a really, really good core gameplay loop. Do you want to know why? There's a huge difference between Anthem and Cyberpunk, and let me explain to you what that is. Anthem had a really, really good foundational content loop and combat feel that they could build upon. It's why people liked the game and got angry when they realized there was absolutely no endgame. People don't get mad about the absence of an endgame if the game sucks. Right? How many people do you talk to that don't like Cyberpunk and talk about the endgame? How many? In my experience, not very many people bring up the end game if they didn't like Cyberpunk. Why? They didn't make it that far. They're like, this game sucks. It feels bad. It's clunky. It's glitchy. It's buggy. The characters and the voice acting's bad, right? Anthem, most of the hot criticism in the first couple of days was because they had glitches and bugs. They ironed those out. And then 2 weeks later, the primary criticism was there's nothing to do. There is no end game. Those are very, very different criticisms. Yo, Blue Phoenix with a $2 tip through the super chat. Thank you so much for doing that. There's so many ways to support the channel, guys. It's free to press like and subscribe. That costs nothing. If you hit the subscribe button, make sure you check the bell button. You can consider doing super chat or a membership or ordering some coffee. Coffee's not a sponsor, by the way. That's actually ours. It's in my home. We got boxes of it. You're supporting a small business when you order the coffee. Still no coffee orders of the day. You can be the first order. It's a huge honor to be the first order because I say so. Anthem was the best new IP in recent years. Anthem was the only time recently I've played a game and said, I've never played a game like this. Right? When I played Elden Ring, it was like, I've played a game like Elden Ring before. Now, I've not played an open world game like Elden Ring, which I believe it deserves tons of praise for that. But when I'm slamming the ground and getting combos and just going nuts as this big, huge mech, That gameplay loop in Anthem was super satisfying. Cyberpunk's gameplay, after an hour, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep playing. Like, I made multiple javelins in Anthem and wanted an endgame. I wanted it to end in Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, after 9.2 hours, I found a mission to collect some rogue taxi cars. The most fun thing I've found so far, says Hilly. Anthem 100% could have had a No Man's Sky moment where I can't see Cyberpunk unless they divert all energy to additional development. They'd have to rebuild so much of the game. I don't think it's possible. I loved how synergistic the weapons and abilities were in Anthem. Once they patched some of the dumbness with the inscriptions, which were basically the perks, right? The perks could be pretty stupid. They fixed that. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like Anthem was great. It wasn't. The reason that people were confident in Anthem's ability to come back is because the core gameplay was so good. The game itself was not good. Do you see the distinction? Like, I'm not sitting here acting like Anthem was a great game. It wasn't. But there was a confidence in the player base and even in the content creators. Like, I was the one of the main people banging on the drum and saying, listen, this game can 100% have a comeback. And the reason it can have a comeback is because the core gameplay is so good. I just don't feel that when I play Cyberpunk. How do you order coffee? You can use the coffee command, or you can go to ragelessroast.com. So !coffee. See, all these down here are commands, and we're getting ready to change this because I don't think YouTube knows. The YouTube audience doesn't necessarily. I think we want to be like, join our Discord. So then people are like, oh, where's your Discord? Well, it's in the description, right? Buy some coffee or something. Because ! And then a word is that's how you type a command in chat, and Nightbot will then give you that command. Well, it'll give you like the relevant hyperlink. So shirt, glasses, display, coffee, all those things. If you ever like or are curious about any of the things, I'm basically always wearing or using something that's part of our sponsorship lineup. And I don't use things and promote things I don't use myself. Like, I'm wearing Gunner Optics. I drink the coffee. I think it's wonderful. I love wearing the shirts from 80s Tees. I'm like a t-shirt connoisseur. I love having lots of t-shirts. Does Cyberpunk need a comeback, says Viceroy. It's a single-player game with an ending, bought by millions, played by millions. It isn't some game as service that needs constant player base. You play it and then move on. I mean, that's not a terrible pushback with what I'm saying. That's not a terrible pushback, Viceroy. However, I am responding to what the developers have said. The game isn't done. We're not done with the game yet. We have expansions on the way. That dialogue sets the table for this idea that, like, the game can have a comeback. The game can have, like, a moment, right? The developers seem to think so. I understand what you're saying. I don't want to give the impression that this game should attempt to be game as service or live service. However, I actually think when somebody said earlier it's got a future in like the role play GTA thing, I wonder if people understand that. Is there a link? Yeah, Creature. Commands just do not land on YouTube. It's literally in chat like twice now. When you type coffee, coffee, Nightbot says you can order the Rageless Roast here and puts a link. I think people I legit think people ignore Nightbot. I really do. They don't even see him. He's like, poor guy in chat helping you out, and you don't look and you don't acknowledge him. You don't acknowledge him. Poor Nightbot. How does a comeback look for you? This is what I think a comeback would look like. That's actually a good question to define or to qualify what I mean by comeback. To me, a comeback would be people like me that didn't like the game, didn't play the game and enjoy it. And every time we've come back, we've been like, no, I still don't enjoy it. To me, a comeback would be winning over converts. I believe that No Man's Sky won people over. They were like, oh, yeah, this game is so much better now. Completely different game. Night and day difference, right? Division 1, their 1.8 patch. it brought people back. It sort of made converts of apostates, to use religious language. People that had like walked away from the game converted. They were like, I'm back, baby. This is good. Right? So I think that's how I would quantify a comeback. Is like a measurable dialogue vibe change. Does that make sense? A measurable, viable dialogue change. You know what we need to do? I know what we need to do. Don't we have Nightbot commands that talk to the person and they call them by their name? There's a way to have Nightbot call you by your name. I think it's like user equals user or something, so that when people use a command, we should go and edit all the commands so that it says, hey, so-and-so, you can buy the coffee here. There's a way to do that so that anytime the command is used, people would then see it and be like, oh, he's talking to me. I know it's on the question command. I'm just not sure what part of the string is what we need to pull out. Demins might have to help us with that. Just because a game has multiple endings doesn't mean you have to replay it. Sekiro has multiple endings, but I don't feel the need to replay it. I'm that way, Viceroy, with maybe the exception of Returnal. I really want to get all the endings on Returnal, but I don't necessarily feel that with other games. Can it call me Heisenberg? I mean, maybe. Hey, there we go. Oh, I know who this is. I can see the name on the PayPal. My man Orphan ordering a bag of light roast. Thank you so much, Orphan. I appreciate that. First coffee order of the day. There it is. We'd love to get 5 new members a day and 5 coffee orders. We got 1 coffee order and 1 member. We need 4 more of each. What about putting the links in the video description? Oh, they're there, Techno. They're all there. That's why I usually say you can use the links in the description below or use Nightbot. Because people that watch the VODs are like, who's Nightbot? Who's that? Thank you. Happy trip around the sun to me. Oh, is it your birthday? Nice. Are you with Andrew right now? I know he's recording. I don't know if you're there though. Happy birthday. What am I putting there? It's not about having to replay. It's that the game is designed to replay. Yeah, there are games that are certainly designed to be replayed. Like they build them with that in mind. Sure. Like Returnal is an example of that. Like it's literally designed for you to keep playing and keep peeling the story onion back. I think I've lost my membership, but I'll re-up as soon as I can. Yeah, they did something where memberships are not renewing and people are struggling to renew. I think it's because they're getting ready to push out gifted memberships and they've caused some kind of a glitch in the matrix. So we're not really sure why or when it happened, but we've had people even report and say, I can't renew, it won't let me. So we are definitely seeing that. The game is meant to be played multiple times, choosing different characters, different paths, different choices, etc. It fails on that part. Just because you don't replay them doesn't mean that the game hasn't failed at that. Right. Or like, I don't really pay attention to dialogue. That doesn't mean that the dialogue isn't bad. Hey Lono, since you and your family pack your own coffee, do you have plans for coffee mugs or drink coasters? We are looking into a new merch solution that will give us the ability to have those things directly sold on our website. So when you go to order coffee, we'll have like branded mugs and stuff. We're working on that. That's forthcoming. We're also working on giving like merch and coffee discounts to members, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. We're trying to cook up more things on that front. It's just going to take a while. Hilly says the main issue with Cyberpunk, for me, was all the hype and marketing the game, and the game was a little bit crap. Right. Yeah, Creature's creating that stuff right now. Saying the game is meant to be played and moved on from is just false. Oh, I see what you're pushing against. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a recap. So we're talking Cyberpunk update and why I don't think the game can have a comeback. We're polling the audience. If you want to take the poll at the top of the chat, do that. If you want to subscribe so you can talk in chat, do that. We have almost 500 votes on the poll, okay? And I had somebody push back, and they're like, it doesn't really need a comeback. It doesn't really need to have this big moment. It's not really a game as service. It's not meant to be played ongoing. And Eugene's pushing back against that and saying, no, it actually is a game that's meant to be played over and over. It actually is a game that's meant to have that long-lasting quality. And so he's pushing back on that notion that, like, it's not a big deal. You know, the notion being, oh, you're just meant to play the game and put it down. You're just meant to play the game and walk away. And Eugene's pushing against that and saying, no, I disagree. He's disagreeing with that take. What I see as a comeback is if people who play it acknowledge it as a well-done game and they enjoy it a lot. My idea of a comeback is, this is super, like, biased, but if you get me to come back and play the game and say, the game's worth playing now, that's a comeback. I said that about No Man's Sky numerous times. I'm like, oh yeah, totally worth diving into No Man's Sky. Completely different game. Well worth checking out now. When No Man's Sky first came out, I constantly said, no, it's just an inventory simulator. Like, it's not that good. It's not really worth playing unless you find that kind of gameplay super relaxing. So, obviously, that's like a super biased and super personal way of thinking about it, but I don't really have another way of thinking about a video game. Especially a game that, for all intents and purposes, should have really appealed to me. Like, it should have really appealed to me. Should have. Should have been a great game. In my mind, I should have played the heck out of it. I should have felt the tug and the pull to play it off stream, like I feel with Elden Ring or Ghost of Tsushima or the new Kirby game or the new Star Wars Lego game. That's a pretty wide gamut of games, and I have like a desire and a sense and like a pull to play those games off stream. Why? Because they're good games, right? Like there's no doubt in my mind that those games would be enjoyable if I could make time to play them off stream. My wife and I have played the Kirby and Star Wars, and my kid and I have played the Star Wars games off stream. The new Lego Star Wars, sorry. It sucks that Anthem didn't get a comeback. Yeah. I was really wanting that to be another game we could reference and be like, look at this game that had this huge comeback. I mean, we probably would have covered it quite a bit, you know. I already started a second playthrough of Elden Ring to make a dual character. Yeah, I had somebody leave a comment. Donut left a comment and said that the new game plus being a victory lap, he said that's a new thing with Elden Ring. He said that didn't exist in the other games. He said the other games, it's supposed to get harder on new game plus. And I was like, I've had a lot of people tell me that like Dark Souls 3 new game plus was a victory lap. So maybe it didn't start with Elden Ring. He was of the belief that that's a new thing with Elden Ring. 512 votes on the poll here. Cyberpunk 2077, does it have a future? 53% have said yes, 47% have said no. Very much split down the middle. I saw that gamer tag on playing Lego on Saturday. Was going to send you a kiss face to mess with you. Yeah. Me and the kiddos were playing. Remember when Anthem banned players for farming? Good plan. Well, that wasn't exactly what happened. Like, I know that the one streamer in particular, like, that's how he spun it, but he deleted his VOD and lied to the public. Like, he's not a good person. He's not an honest or upstanding person for many other reasons, but that one in particular, I think they should have all got warnings instead of bans. I don't think the bans were justified, but I also don't think it's justified to, like, delete VODs and lie to your audience either. Like, lie to the public and misrepresent what happened. Dark Souls 3 New Game Plus was a joke compared to the first playthrough of New Game 5 or 6. We aren't saying New Game Plus was a victory lap because of the Elden Ring experience. That's what I told him. He said that he's only finding people saying that about Elden Ring, and I'm like, no? Oh, I'm joking. I unfollowed the guy forever ago. Okay, I was like, yeah, He tricked a lot of people. I was really irritated at that time. I did not like sharing space with. Yeah, that was always kind of awkward. It's because of the CEO, says Jason. In my opinion, they wanted to rush the release. If they left it for like 4 more months or something, I bet it would be fine. Well, then why isn't it fine now, though? I mean, they've had plenty of time to do that. What was let's look at this. How long has the game been out? When did it release? Okay, December of 2020. So the game has been out for a year and 4 months. So I don't necessarily agree with that. They've literally had, you're like, if they would have left it for 4 months, well, I'll do you one better. They've had an entire year and 4 months, and it still ain't where it needs to be. You know, I don't know. Now again, I'm not saying the game is in a terrible state. People are still playing it. You know, 10,000 some odd people on Steam. That's actually not bad for a year-old game that's single player. I actually think that's funny enough. That's pretty impressive. This game has garnered some kind of a strong following on PC, which is undeniable. So I'm not going to take that away or ignore that or act like that's not a part of the equation. This game has somehow amassed loyalty in spite of everything that it did and how it launched. The game has amassed some loyalty. The point that I'm making is that I don't think it will ever pull people back that left dissatisfied or, like me, just don't think it's a very good game. That's kind of the point, is like, I don't think it has a future. And what I mean is, it's only ever going to be cult classic. It's only ever going to have this loyal base. It's never going to make converts. It's never going to get to where it needs to be. People are allowed to enjoy bad games. It's cool. Yeah, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm acknowledging it just because I think it's fair to say, it's fair and honest to be like, hey man, this game has somehow amassed a loyal following for whatever reason. It's scratching some kind of an itch on PC with the PC audience. Wrong, look at Reddit. People are hyped for expansions. I don't think I said people weren't hyped for the expansions. I think it, like I said, it's amassed loyalty. It has. Like, I'm acknowledging that. The people, unless you were responding to somebody else, the people that are on Reddit hyped for expansions are fully within the realm of what I just said. Yeah, that in spite of everything, somehow this game has amassed pretty strong loyalty in the PC community. Console community got burned pretty hard, so I don't think you're going to get a ton of people there that, like, are super charitable to the game. Number one, because there's Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 market saturation makes it really hard to have like a console player base in this game, because, you know, way more people probably bought this game on older consoles, which means they're not going to be a big fan of the game, I wouldn't think. It's definitely not going to pull those people back. You need to be good when people are actually experiencing it. After that, it's significantly harder to get people to return. They move on to other games. Or in my case, I come back and I'm obviously pretty biased. I mentally have my arms crossed. I'm like, yeah, this game's probably not gonna, it's going to be really hard to convince me. You know, going to be really hard to convince me. It's definitely not going... hang on. Can we just take a moment and realize it's become pretty... I think you meant to say pretty common for AAA company games to launch unpolished, unfinished games. That Elden Ring is becoming unfamiliar, odd experience. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. John always says, I can't see a DLC bringing new players to the game unless they do a bundle with the base game free-ish. Right. Cyberpunk has over 350,000 positive reviews on Steam. That's the second most positive reviews ever for a single-player game on Steam. When an expansion will release, will be huge. I feel like weren't you just a moment ago saying the game is trash? I swore you wrote that in chat. They'll never deliver the game that was supposed to be, and for that I'll never touch it, says Eugene. I was really looking forward to it. The glasses on the mic. Yeah, the one thing about these glasses for me is that they're large, so they can tend to slide down my nose a little bit, you know. They're bigger frames. On PC, there are less bugs, insane graphics, and an okay-ish story for a cheap game. Seems like a solid deal. Yes, it was Excisa. Yeah, I'm always confused when I feel like some people come in and they just play both sides. Like, I don't know. Maybe just trying to bait the chat. I mean, is PC really known for the single-player experience? I think not. I think at a grand scale, yeah, it actually is, isn't it? Like, if you go to Steam, most of the big popular games are single-player. Is it not? Like, sim games are ridiculously popular. Those are single-player games. Planet Zoo. Any sim game is single-player, and those are some of the biggest and most popular games on PC. I actually think if you did like a query of Steam, the biggest, most popular, most played games are single-player, not the other way around. PC's known for modding. That's one reason it's higher rated than console. I mean, sure, that's always going to be a factor, right? People can mod and fix things and polish things on their own. How many positive reviewed bought it at full price? You know what's funny, Eugene? We checked this before any of the major patches, and it had like a 76 on Steam. Right? It had like a 76 on Steam. Most played or multiplayer? I'm actually not sure, but I don't think that's true on Steam. Now, obviously, if you look at Call of Duty, and if you look at Call of Duty and Fortnite and CS:GO and all that, yes, they're going to make it really, really hard as far as total player count. I was talking about the games themselves. Like, add up the games. Half-Life 1 and 2 are literally two of the greatest games of all time. I'm just saying in general, go to Steam and add up the quantity. Yeah, it's still sitting at a 76% on Steam. 431,000 reviews, 76%. So it's a mostly positive. Mostly positive ranking on Steam. Yeah, I'm not saying add up the players, because when you start adding up Fortnite, CSGO, and Warzone, it's really unfair, especially when you start adding up like massive multiplayer games like Final Fantasy and WoW and stuff. What I'm saying is the number of games that come out. That's what I was saying. Like, there's way more single-player games that come out. Only things I ever see people talk about on Steam, on PC, are multiplayer. I don't care about the nobody plebeians are using PC for. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I think the market is actually probably pretty evenly distributed. I mean, I could be wrong, but if you look at the games that get, like, crazy followings and lots of support, it's a lot of single-player indies and sim games. Like, there are so many of them. Ooh. I pre-ordered the Ultimate Edition on PC, and I never ran into any serious issues at all. I gave it a max review back then. Most streaming content's multiplayer. That's just because of content. Well, yeah. For PC, you have a couple standout multiplayer games that get all the buzz, but it's mostly niche single players. Most competitive games don't need high-end specs, so maybe that could be a reason. Oh, I mean, that's why Fortnite they focused so much on optimization when it first came out, because they wanted it to run 60 FPS literally everywhere. Just because a large number hover around multiplayer games doesn't mean multiplayer games are the most popular. It's funny, it might be odd, but go look, sim games dominate. Yeah, every time we're looking at Steam, the Steam database of like upcoming games, the games with the most following are always sim games. Every time. I can tell you one right now. There's a game that came out today. It's a twin-stick top-down shooter called You're a Gun. It actually looks pretty cool. U-R-A gun. Like, spell it out. Literally, the letters U-R-A and then gun. You're a Gun. What was the other one that had a ton of followers recently that I saw listed in here? The Iron Oath is turn-based. It's got a ton of followers. Here it is. So those games had, 10,000 followers or whatever on Steam. People following the game and looking forward to it. Aircraft Carrier Survival, okay? So, Naval Combat Simulator. It's got action and strategy. 20,000 people are following that game. So, twice as many people were following that game. Like, as soon as it's a sim game, it gets a ton more. Here's a Dinosaur Hunter Simulator. 10,000. It's dinosaur fossil hunting. 10,000 followers. They're always at the top of the list. Like, whenever I scroll down through here, the top of the list, games that people are anticipating, always sim games. Like, every dadgum time. Farming sim. And then there's, like, turn-based strategy games seem to also be very popular. Here's one with 56,000 followers. Sandbox life sim, crafting an RPG and building. My Time at Sandrock. It literally looks like The Sims and Animal Crossing all slapped into one game, kind of. 56,000 people are following that dadgum game. My Time at Sandrock. It comes out next month. So, yeah, I mean, sim games and single-player games, man, they pull. He pulls. He pulls, Jake. Well, Cyberpunk doesn't really have followers anymore. You can't see it in the database with that on that front because it's not an upcoming game. I'm sure you could probably go back through the back end and do it with the database, but I don't have a way of doing it. Single player versus multiplayer video gaming preference. So 2021 surveys are showing 59% prefer to play by myself. The only opponent of the game is me or the computer. 19% prefer online with friends. 8% in person with friends. 12% online with strangers. So if you take the 20 and the 12, 32%. So 1/3 prefer to be online with friends or strangers. 60% prefer just to play by themselves. What's your take on my message above? Anyone else feel that way, though, through their experiences? I feel like the gaming community only gets the pulse from streamers, but that's maybe 20% of gamers. There's so many more games out there. Oh, no, for 100%, yeah. It's... my Steam library isn't filled with 437 multiplayer games. Right. So it gets kind of tough, and here's why it gets kind of tough, all right? You have people that consume streams and YouTube videos, and it has an influence on how they view the gaming world, okay? This is like a really good reason why you should diversify your media intake, like on news and stuff, right? Because you could, and I had people do this all the time, you could watch Purple and YouTube and get a real weird sense that, like, these are the only games that exist. Hey, second coffee order of the day. 2 dark roast to Dustin, my dudes. Dude, thank you so much, Dustin. I hope you enjoy the coffee. Man, you made a good choice, too. The dark roast is very popular. Light roast is like the great entrance, flavor. But the dark roast is very popular. I mean, the reviews about Cyberpunk may be decent, but the public discourse is not. And does the public discourse... Like, are we hijacking the public discourse? Would be my question. Like, we're not playing the game. We're kind of on the outside. And are we potentially hijacking public discourse because we're... And I'm not saying we're doing anything wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, the people that play and are invested are like, man, all this stuff's great. They're doing great things. And we're over here being like, no, They need to basically rebuild and reinvent the game, or we're never going to touch it. Which is part of what my talk is about. Like, no future. No converts. You're never going to get out of cult following. Like, you have a loyal base. You have people that love your game. They're going to play everything. They're going to download everything. But no, the rest of us are kind of about your game. Treating stream multiplayer content as representative of universal personal preference is on par with using Twitter as your official reliable news source. Are we a loud minority when it comes to Cyberpunk? Yeah, that's a question that we should be asking. Are we just being a loud minority? Public discourse has a massive influence on how deep people will look into a game, or even get where the good talks are to even give it a chance to begin with. That's a good idea for a stream topic. Is the social media presence in video games influencing gamers, or are gamers influencing the social media presence in the game industry? It's probably both and. Eugene says no. They've accepted the game for what it is. We're demanding it to be judged for what they said it would be. So Eugene's saying no. They've got this loyal following that'll like the game no matter what. They've decided that this is good enough, and the rest of us are like, no, it needs to get to the point. It needs to rise to the bar they set for themselves. If they're selling the game for $5, it's clearly not doing that hot. Well, it has been out for a long time, so that's not the best measure of a game's current status or quality. Plenty of games do that, do they not? Streamers playing a game is like a free advertisement for the game. Yes, this is true. And I don't know why you said it, but it is true. Guys, thanks for all the followers on Instagram, and I'm sorry, not on Instagram, on TikTok. I want to look into their streaming capabilities, but we can't do that until we get 1,000 followers. So if you do use TikTok, we're over there at Reforge TV. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Reforge TV. We use Twitter to talk about when we go live or do special events and things. So, thank you guys so much for following us on any of those platforms. Out for a long time and judged to be bad, instant $5, says Robert. CD Projekt Red needs to completely abandon Cyberpunk and pour everything they've got into The Witcher 4 to build the community and reputation. See, Gaines, there are a lot of people that think that, but I feel that's like self-defeating. You're basically saying, harm your reputation again in order to rebuild your reputation. Do you know? Like, I don't know. Pretty sure every time I've ever seen in that game, it was discounted. How long was it ever full price? Oh, I don't know. I know one game that's not getting a comeback, Battlefield 2042. Oh, golly. Yo, William XMS renewing his membership for 6 months. Thanks for being a pillar. Thanks for always being a pillar for change, man. Always going to support you. I appreciate that. That's half a year of support, man. Thank you. Guys, don't forget, if you're not a member currently, you can click the join button. The join link is also in the description, or you can use the ! join command in chat. We have offered, just this week, we've started offering membership content. Every Thursday, we're going to do an extra stream, a third stream. And Friday nights, I'll be streaming with my wife and having drinks. Those are members only. Once a month, those Friday nights are going to be community game night. And this month, on April the 22nd, it's going to be Fortnite no-build squads. I don't care if you don't like Fortnite. It's going to be fun. It's cross-playing on every platform and free. So all you got to do is be a member, all right? So click that join button, $5 a month, get you access to all that extra content in our Discord. 8 months from Murph Dog. Oh, hey, it's my renewal, Double Dip Club. Thank you, sir. I think the devs just like the hype more than they like making games. No, I don't think so. Like, I don't know if devs is the right label there. I think publishers like hype. Right? Publishers like hype. I think C-suite employees maybe at the dev companies, maybe they like hype. I bet you that the actual devs and engineers that work on these games, I bet you they hate hype. They're like, just let us build a game. Don't do all that. Don't go out there 5 years beforehand and promise stuff. Wait, what do you mean? I don't know if it's going to be that good. I don't even know if we're going to be able to make all that stuff yet. You know? Don't do that. I think the lion's share of the devs don't like it. Thank you again, Murph Dog, for 8 months, and everybody that renewed memberships today. Thank you. So that we are clear on how retail works, extreme sales items like what is happening to Cyberpunk are the result of the retailer holding on to too many units and trying to liquidate them. What? Oh, you mean the physical copies? They're trying to get rid of them? That's why it's so cheap? Demetrius with 8 months of renewed membership, man. Membership train, he says, double dip. Yeah, if you guys want to keep that member train going, hit that join button. Hype leads to investment. So to some extent, devs need hype too. There it is. Another new member today. Thank you, Dominic. That's 2 new members for the day. We want to see 5 new members a day. That'd be amazing. We already got 2. We want to see 5 coffee orders every day. We got 2 coffee orders. We're doing well. Here we go. This is what we want to see. Thanks for that support. Enjoy the dope badge and emotes. You're dope and deserve dope stuff, Dominic. Oh, and you get access to all the new member content we're doing this week. So thank you. Why do they have so many units? Why do they need to liquidate? Yeah, like, do they have? Are there that many units out in circulation right now? Like physical units of the game that they're like, oh my gosh, we got to get rid of all this crap. Like, is that like a thing? Is that happening? Hey, a 3rd order of coffee. Here we go. This is what we want to see here. Dark roast for the same guy that just did a membership. Thank you, Dominic. Been watching since the early Destiny days, and it's been inspiring watching you grow. Now doing better in life and trying to support through coffee and membership. Keep kicking butt, man. Dom. Yo, I greatly appreciate that, Dom. Thank you. It's been a long road, and we're still on it, man. We're still pushing. We're still growing. We're still doing the thing. My store had a ton of Cyberpunk at launch at MJ. This isn't the first time it was dirt cheap physical. Oh, really? They had so many units because they weren't selling them. When you have to constantly discount both physical and digital copies, I would call those sales success. You would call those sales success? The game was terrible on last-gen consoles with no review codes. That's why I would guess. I give you credit for people that are willing to buy your game at its full price. If people are only ever willing to buy your game at a discount, that's saying something. Oh, I understand what you're saying now. I wonder if Keanu actually played the game. He did not, but was happy people modded the blank scene back in. What? Yeah, he didn't play the game. They had to walk that claim back. If they had so many units, it sounds like the console didn't sell well with physical units. Well, you got to understand, the game was sort of mired in controversy. So when it launched, it was so bad they removed it from the Sony PlayStation Store, and people were asking for refunds on both platforms because the game was just in such bad shape on console specifically. We need 30 more likes. 30 more likes for the next like milestone. Thanks everybody for smashing like and subscribe today. It's totally free to subscribe to the channel. Costs nothing. Also doesn't cost anything to smash the like button. So thank you to all the new subs today, new members, new coffee orders, and even people smashing the like button, lurking and listening. You guys are the best. Thank you for enjoying the show. It was an interview. They told him people modded his sex scene. They removed to get it back in the game. Oh. Look, Lono, typing on the phone on mobile can be a fight in and of itself. I try to make my messages as coherent as I can while typing quickly. I actually tried, like, I speak typo. Like, I can usually figure out what somebody's trying to say due to typos. I can. Why can't Cyberpunk have a No Man's Sky recovery story? Was it because of the overhype for the marketing? So, Tiny Toot, my kids would love your name. They think the word toot is so hilarious. They would die laughing if they heard me say that. Tiny Toot! They would die. Anyways, so here's why I don't think it can have its No Man's Sky recovery story, okay? I outlined this a little bit earlier, and here's how I phrased it. No Man's Sky launched as like a minimum viable product. Basically a very it was essentially a basic foundation that could be built upon. Think of like a house built on a pretty basic foundation, but it's built on property with all this room to expand and grow, okay? I think what Cyberpunk is a much larger foundation and house that has essentially design flaws at every level of the game. At every level of the house's design, they made mistakes with the foundation, they made mistakes with the walls, with the electrical, everything. So it's like, you gotta rebuild the dadgum house. Like, that's how bad it is. Like, No Man's Sky's like, we can add this room, this plot of land, this thing, that thing, a swimming pool. Why? Well, we got all this room to do it. We launched a very basic, minimum viable product, and we just add on to it. Cyberpunk's not like that. Cyberpunk has too much, as I said earlier today, it's got too much mediocrity baked into the crust. You can't, like, unbake that out of it. If I made you a 10-layer cake and I put cayenne pepper in it, you can't, like, pick the cayenne pepper out. It's baked into it. It's there. You're going to taste it no matter what you do. And I worry that there's so much baked into this game that just isn't very good, that this is where we are. It's a game that is fine. It's not horrible, but it also certainly isn't very good. It's just kind of like in the middle. You know, yeah, 76 for them, especially. A 76 for CD Projekt Red, like a 76% on Steam. That's pretty, it's mediocre. It's a solid C grade, exactly. You know, if you were a straight A student and you were known for straight A's and you studied your butt off all of your life, and then all of a sudden you got a 76 on a test, I think people would be like, yo, what the frick did you do? What happened? Now, you don't want to shame kids. This is a real danger when you have straight A students. I'm not advocating shaming straight A students. That's terrible for their anxiety and like internalizing shame and over realizing failure. But for the analogy, that's what happened. Now, I know Cyberpunk wasn't exactly like this straight A student. They definitely had like, they basically rewrote their research paper, and it was a solid B, and they changed it into an A+ with The Witcher 3, right? Like, all right, it's a good game, it's a solid game, but boy, oh boy, does it have a lot of problems and bugs. Well, what'd they do? They fixed a lot. They fixed all that stuff, and then they were super generous with their DLC. So they essentially fixed it. And then people are seeing them through that lens. People are seeing them through the lens of, man, The Witcher 3, bro. Witcher 3. They were suddenly, I'll be honest, I've covered video games a really, really long time. The most often referenced, like, godlike developer out there, it was always CD Projekt Red. People brought them up constantly. And I think the reason that they brought them up constantly is because they had climbed so high. It wasn't like they just hit this home run right out of the gate. They started off pretty shaky, and they had an amazing back inning or whatever you want to call it. Back half of the game or whatever. And that's all everybody remembers. So going into Cyberpunk, and to be fair, the way they marketed Cyberpunk, they laid the groundwork, like it's like in a double. What's the word I want to use? It's not compounding, but they laid it on thick. They had this reputation. They had everybody loving them. They were basically a media darling developer. Everybody thought they were the gods and the kings of the industry. Like, with respect to development and respect of the audience and everything else. And so they start laying it on really thick with the Cyberpunk marketing, and people think, oh my gosh, CD Projekt Red and this game, this type of game, this vibe, bro, this game's gonna be mind-blowing. And it wasn't. It wasn't. They were flying real high. And buddy, they laid the napalm on. They laid the gas. They put the gas pedal all the way down, and we're like, oh yes, we're making a phenomenal existential, almost spiritual experience game. And I think they literally flew too close to the sun. Like, you know what I mean? They 100% pulled an Icarus. They pulled an Icarus. Yeah, you got too close to the sun, bro. You can't do that. You can't have that level of consumer confidence and fumble that sharply. That it makes perfectly good sense why people were so irritated. There was no defense to be made. Oh, they're indie. Oh, they're this. Oh, they're that. It was like, what happened? I mean, it was unprecedented to have a game be in such bad shape that it gets removed. It gets removed from, the digital storefront of Sony. Like, that's pretty serious, man. That's pretty serious. And you got basically then you got people demanding refunds on all platforms, not just Sony. You had people demanding refunds everywhere. It's like, this game is so bad. I mean, if you consider like what happened, man, how do I get viewer activity? I wish I could pop this out. That'd be great if I could pop this out. Because I don't want to work with stream labels anymore. They randomly edited a video, and threw in a stream labels thing. It was like, support this channel by going to stream labels. I'm like, who the frick do you think you are? What are you editing my videos for? So I basically revoked their access. We'll have to find somebody else to give us that way I can have a dashboard and see who's been a member, who's tipped or whatever. The new Lono main theme is playing. What is it? I'm all out of gum. I'm all out of gum. Yeah, I've heard this one before. This is a good song. Yeah, this synthwave playlist is really good. It's really good. We switched off of Harris Heller stuff. Their game actually got removed from the entire PlayStation storefront, didn't it? For quite a while. Yeah, completely gone. Which is completely unprecedented. Yeah. The cheek of stream labels. Yeah, it's not the first time it happened. I went and checked and I did a Google search. Back in 2019 that was happening. Stream labels was just adding stuff to the descriptions of videos. Support this channel by clicking on this link or whatever. It's like, all right, that's all. That's basically all it takes for me. That's it. It's like, I don't want to work with you anymore. Why would I work with a company that's going to do that? Just randomly doing that. Oh, that was a good back pop. Holy moly, that felt good. Will CD Projekt Red go bankrupt? Oh no, I don't think so. They have funding. They're funded. They're going, they've got, I think that's why they came out and said, hey, Witcher 4, hey, Witcher 4 is coming and we're going to Unreal 5, Your mentor was sad that you stopped using his music. Creature tries to trigger me by calling Harris Heller my mentor because 80% of his content is ripped right from my Twitch talks that I used to do. I'm not accusing the man of stealing, but it started to get a little unnerving. It's I literally said all of this. I have an entire, well, not anymore. It's not public. We privatized all that stuff, but encyclopedic coverage of like how to do streaming and be good at streaming, and all of a sudden every video he dropped, I was like, this all sounds really familiar. I'm not saying he stole. It was just unnerving. It was like, this guy's super popular saying stuff I've said for years. It was just aggravating. I believe they own the Witcher rights. CD is funded by the government. I mean, Witcher 3 was funded by a grant from the government. I don't know if they're fully and always funded by the government, though. Like, are they perpetually funded by the government? There are only so many ideas. Yeah, I never went and, like, did, like, a side-by-side comparison to see if he did, because it wouldn't be that hard to, like, go through the playlist and just take ideas. It wouldn't be that hard. It wouldn't. But it was more unnerving that, like, man, I said all this already, you know. They aren't funded. It was a grant. Cyberpunk was funded by Poland too. Yeah, that was just The Witcher. I don't know if they're eternally funded. Who published? Was Cyberpunk also published by the government? Who was the publisher? Designer, Conrad, developer, composers, engine. Yeah, who was the publisher? Game was developed. Launched a new division. Hang on. Yeah, the publisher information is not like super front facing on the wiki. Was it Poland again? Or was that the first time? I'm looking here. Gameplay synopsis, development, release, and marketing. Let's just control F the word published. Yeah, it says developed and published by CD Projekt. It was a self-published game, apparently, so they must have gotten money from somewhere. Where'd the money come from would be the question. Who's was it all the money they made on Witcher 3? Because the grant for Witcher 3 means they didn't necessarily have to pay that back, right? So I guess that's the question. The government of Poland is an investor. CD Projekt Red is the publisher. I think Poland provides funds. Man, how'd they get that deal? How'd they get that deal? We need 5 more likes for 300 likes. And don't forget, we are doing other shows today. We will be talking about Epic getting a $1 billion investment from Sony. I think it's pointing to like all roads leading to Fortnite, personally. That is my thought. And so we'll be talking about that. We're also going to be going over to Reforge Radio and talking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard lawsuit. I did a bunch of research last night. I've kind of changed my position a little bit on the situation, but I still have some strong words about some of the stuff I'm reading and seeing, and have my own theories and predictions about what exactly is going on. Pretty sure CD Projekt Red is a publicly traded company. Robert says they are. Poland has invested a lot in Polish game devs. They went public in 2008. They get some funds from the government, but they aren't broke. Because Sony doesn't issue refunds, so they pulled it. Yeah, wasn't it like people wanted refunds and CD Projekt Red like said basically go talk to Microsoft and Sony or something to that effect? Let's talk about, is 5 different types of meat too much for one breakfast sandwich? No. CD Projekt Red is a high-income business that HQ is in Poland. Poland's GDP may need their success. Huh. It's smart for them to invest in homegrown developers. It adds to their GDP and it attracts talent to their country. Yes, and Nova and Dustin are saying similar things. Fairly common. Government's trying to promote growth in different industries. They have custom matches in Fortnite that we can just play no build BR against other community members on Friday. Fozzie, the only reason I don't want to do that is because we won't have enough people for that. Homie, if I'm sitting here on a Friday night and I got 100 people chomping at the bit to play, I would do a private match no problem. My prediction, we'll have 50 to 60 viewers maybe, and 20-something people at most looking to play. That's just my prediction. 20 might be generous. If history shows us anything, like when we did the Halo Infinite custom games, we had a ton of people turn out, but it still was only mid-20 something, and that was on the cusp of that game launching and people being really excited. Viewership was good. Engagement was always usually in the 20s, low to mid-20s, and again, that was on the cusp of a Halo launching and it being totally free. So, generally speaking, community game nights are usually not super high on participation. Now, that could change over time. You guys keep jumping into membership, and we keep getting members, but, like, you got to think about it. Our goal right now is 500 members. So, you would need 1/5 of the membership to show up on a Friday night and want to play, and that just generally hasn't happened in the history of the channel. So, I want to see 500 members on both channels. That's what I want to see. Now, we get to like 1,000 members. Well, sure, we might be at a place where we start doing private lobbies because we have so many dadgum people tuning in. You know what I mean? CD Projekt Red owns a video game distribution store. Really? Another reason for 76% positive reviews of Cyberpunk is that they stopped Cyberpunk sales in Russia due to the support for Ukraine, so their positive reviews fell from 80. Oh, so they had climbed to 80 because they were at 76 before they did all the recent updates. And I was like, oh, they just kind of stayed at 76, right? Did we cover the new Gundam game? No, we did not. Would love to join, but I'm in China, so the connections are terrible. Totally understandable, Sichuan. Do I say your name right, by the way? Have to play on HK or JP? Yeah, on Hong Kong. Yeah, I don't have the ability to do that. Yeah. Yes, GOG is owned by CD Projekt Red. I didn't know that. Huh. Halo's only PC and Xbox? Listen, NBCTM, this is how I've always handled things. Demand dictates action. So if there's demand on a Friday night and we have so many people that we feel like if we're going to do private lobbies in Fortnite, we would need at least 50. I would think 40 to 50 people. If we're going to do no-build lobbies, private lobbies, we'd need 40 to 50 people. Keep in mind, it's members-only stream. So you need 40 to 50 willing participants to tune in. And the beauty is we would just be able to throw up the private server code and anybody could join because anybody watching would be a member. So it's one of those things where I will respond to demand, 100%. If I've got 10 or 15 people waiting and wanting to play, we'll just cycle people through with squads. You got 50 willing participants, no problem. I'll open up a private server. It's a fast-paced hero shooter, going to be free to play. Looks interesting. Oh, the Gundam game. I'm down, says Lito. I'll install it on my PS5. Should be fun. Yeah, once a month we'll just pick a free game that anybody can get, whether it's Warzone, Fortnite, or Halo, and we'll just all get together and play. I think Fortnite and Warzone will probably be the best. There's also like the Jackbox games that we can play. Again, the demand is going to dictate action. If we try to do a Jackbox night and nobody shows up, well, we can't play, right? So then we won't do it. We'll respond to where we feel the most response is. Which is why we're doing it, right? We're trying to see, can we start to offer extra streams and member incentives and see membership go up? We're seeing it have a slight impact right now. You got to do it for a whole month to really gauge it. Because you got plenty of people right now that haven't heard the announcements or haven't been here. So if it's not Animal Royale, I'm not coming, right? Yeah, Animal Royale. Yeah. Yeah, Fall Guys has really effective private lobbies, Aaron, but it's only on 2 platforms, PC and PlayStation. If Fall Guys could land on Xbox and the Switch like they've said they're planning to, and they landed with crossplay, Fall Guys would be an absolute dadgum blast. Oh my gosh. Especially if we could get enough people for private lobbies, I would be crying the whole time. It would be so fun. Fall Guys is free, isn't it? I'm fairly certain it's free. Or no, does it cost money? It might be. No, I don't like getting into Among Us. Oh no, Fall Guys is $20. Yeah. Fall Guys is $20. So that'd be the one barrier, is we do like free to play. That makes the barrier of entry really, really good. But I think asking people to drop a 20 spot on Fall Guys is pretty easy. Lono being sus. Yeah, I don't like doing Among Us stream. I don't know. We'll see. Because if it's members only, I guess it really doesn't matter. If like the vibe gets kind of funky and weird or viewership suffers. Because the Among Us streams started to drive people away. Because it's just, I don't know. It's huge numbers for big streamers when they do it, but when you're just pulling in community members, if you're not actively playing, I think people just get turned off. They're like, this is annoying, right? They're like, this is annoying. People end up trolling and just killing you fast. Oh, for sure. The romance, the honeymoon with Among Us was like, it ended pretty quick for us. It was fun for like one evening, and then it just got unfun very quickly. Could do Risk of Rain. Not enough people. No, not enough people. I think the best thing is you grab something that's big, popular, and free and just play. Like, I know people are like, oh, I don't like Fortnite. Oh, come on. Grab a couple beers, jump in with us and laugh. Who cares? Like, we're not taking it serious. We're going to be laughing. I'd love to play some Among Us, or what was the website game that we played? Yeah, Jackbox TV. Yeah. We could, like, draw and write answers. Yeah. Jackbox TV are really, really fun games. They are. We just never got great viewership. Well, we don't need great viewership for members-only streams, right? We don't, because it doesn't hurt the channel. If you stream on a Friday night and you have terrible numbers and that stream sits there all weekend, that's not good for the channel. If you do a members-only stream, the viewership doesn't frickin' matter. It's like it doesn't hit the analyzation. Like, the channel's not viewed as performing poorly because it doesn't hit the algorithm. It's not a publicly viewable video. I don't think it hits the algorithm. I just recently acquired a PS5 and purchased Cyberpunk. In my humble opinion, the game seems to be playing well. I didn't feel like the latest update did enough. I didn't feel like it did enough, Eric. I still had issues with frame rate and stuff on my PS5. You still have a Fortnite creator code? Yeah, if you do anything in the Epic Store, use code Lono. That supports me, yes. Jackbox is fun. We played locally here on my TV with a friend's Switch. We did that this last year at Thanksgiving with the family, with like the boys and stuff. It was really fun. We enjoyed it. My kids kind of struggled to stay focused after a while. My boy, he feels kind of like about it after a while. Played Fortnite for the first time with no building. It was very fun. Recommend the try. Yeah. Halo Master Chief Collection update's amazing. Playing glitches with my buddies in Halo 2, so fun. Custom browser is a game changer. Feels like the old Xbox Live days. Yeah, I don't know if we would ever do Master Chief Collection. I think Halo Infinite's a little bit of an easier sell. So R-rated. Oh, there's a family-friendly checkbox. You can, on a lot of the games, have a family-friendly checkbox you can turn on to keep it from getting R-rated. Hate my keyboard, sorry. No, you're fine. What time is it? Okay. Friday the 13th. On Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th got really, really old really, really quickly. I think the cat and mouse games just, I don't know. I think the cat and mouse games I don't think they're long lasting. I don't know. People automatically want to draw... Oh, yeah, of course. Everybody's trying to draw phallic objects and stuff, for sure. Is there anything that you would like to see in Cyberpunk that would overall make the game better, not counting the combat and the voiceover, the voice acting? Man, I don't know. Just like massive performance increases would be amazing. Like, I don't want to play a game on my PlayStation 5 and see frame stuttering. Like, that's a joke to me. That's a joke to me. I did not buy my PlayStation 5 to have stuttering. It's why I haven't switched over my Elden Ring save off of the PS4 version. I won't do it. Because there's still just enough stuttering to make me say, no, not doing it. It's like, the last thing I want to do is boot up my next gen, you know, my next gen experience and have stuttering, right? No, I don't do Halo, but it got really good. It's what Infinite should have been. They added a custom game browser to Halo 2 and 3 now. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. I feel like it ran better on my Series X than it did on my PS5. Yeah, I was just like walking around the city. So, you know, Cyberpunk gameplay, it needs to be great, and it just never feels great. Does that make sense? It just I don't know. It never feels great. I'm walking around the city, I'm getting some frame stuttering. I'm getting into combat and it's, you know, I don't know. It feels clunky and sluggish. Makes no sense. So if, and that's a big if, CD Projekt Red was able to optimize Cyberpunk and it runs smoothly without crashing, would it make you open to revisiting? Not trying to recruit, just asking. Anytime they do significant updates, I cover it on the channel, Dustin. So I played through the entire tutorial because everybody's like, you got to give it a chance. I played after the tutorial, and then after the most recent update, I went back and played for a couple of hours, and I was like, this is so bad still. I feel like I really, really gave it a fair shot. I really, really tried to give it a fair shake, and I couldn't do it. It's never felt good to be in the game. Like, have you ever played a game that it feels good to be in the game? Just doing basic things like Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, God of War. There's just certain games where when you're in the game, it just feels good to be in the game. It's responsive, it's snappy, it's quick, it's smooth, it's enjoyable. You know, it's one of those things where I really do think Cyberpunk has like an experiential feeling problem. Like there's something baked in. I'm like, there's just something feels wrong here. I'll fly around in Horizon Forbidden West for 10 minutes doing absolutely nothing. I will only play Cyberpunk when it's on sale for 10 GBP. I don't trust it to run well Isn't it like $5? It's like $5 right now. I don't know if it'll ever be cheaper than that. Or did it go back up again in price? It's like $5 US. That might not be that for you. I don't know, wherever you live. Oh no, it's back to full price on Steam. Yeah, it's $59.99. So where is it so cheap? Is it cheap on? Is it that price retail consoles? Like, how do you get it that price? You gotta like buy a physical. Do you have to buy a physical disc to get it that cheap? I'm guessing the mods have fixed most all issues, so I might give Cyberpunk a go on my gaming laptop at some point. Yeah, I didn't download any of the mods when I played. If you're just now tuning in, you're getting the tail end of our discussion. Cyberpunk 2077, does it have a future? Really good results on the poll today, almost 700 votes. That's really strong. And a good turnout. We've had a very, very solid turnout, met a lot of new people, a lot of new subs. Subscribing to the channel is free and enables you to talk in chat. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's conversation. And hit like. We have another stream coming up in a little bit where we're going to be discussing Sony investing $1 billion into Epic, and it's related to this Lego Roblox thing that they're building. They're wanting to build some kind of a metaverse. I know people feel like hear metaverse and they get like turned off, but I actually think this is really, really big. And I think it's tied to some of my predictions about Fortnite and an MMORPG. So we'll be breaking that down shortly in another stream. We do 2 streams a day here on this channel, and we will be doing a stream this afternoon on Reforge Radio. It will be about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard lawsuit, so we cover more serious things over there. Here on gaming, it's just gaming. So we have Reforge Gaming and Reforge Radio. Just threw a suggestion in Radio Suggest. Curious of a topic you'd ever cover. NFL quarterback Cam Newton complained about women who can't cook and don't know when to be quiet. One for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs. Oh, golly. I don't know. Oh golly, I don't know. I guess I'd be happy to cover it. We'd have to cover it from a zoom out though. We'd have to cover it from a zoom out. The idea of, because like I don't want to get embroiled in like the drama of what he said, but like this is commonly held. Why is this unhelpful? Why are these sort of more cliche traditional views of masculinity like bad? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's okay. Yeah, see, so we're this is how I would frame it. Rather than talk about Cam Newton, I would talk about, like, it's actually okay for somebody to espouse what they want from another person in a relationship. But they have to acknowledge that that's probably going to limit how many, like, the more rigid and more demanding they are, I think the less likely they're going to find a match. And the less likely the relationship's going to be based on love. It's going to be based on transactional view, like, of love. Like, him saying, like, that's what he thinks they should do or be or know how to do. Yeah, that's... Okay. Yeah, you're going to have a hard time finding somebody that fits that bill. It was very brief. Meaningful. Morning, Lono in chat. Bless you. Thank you, Deft One. He's from some mail order bride. Why isn't there an undecided on the poll? And good morning, Josh in chat. Josh? Who's Josh? Good morning, Dahlia Dream. How are you? I don't know if your phone auto-corrected. I don't know who Josh is, but that ain't me. Is there some random person here that you really like named Josh? Bit of a random question. Kind of applies to Cyberpunk. Do you think bad publicity is better than no publicity? There's a tipping point, Sax Boy. I think there's a tipping point. So, like, when the saying, any PR is good PR, I don't think it applies to a product that gets so much bad PR that consumer confidence is shaken and damaged, right? Like, bad PR for a celebrity can be really good. Why? Because everybody's talking about them. But there's a limit, is there not? Like, so much bad PR that people are like, I don't want to support this guy, right? There's bad PR that gets you in the press and the limelight and everybody's talking about you. And then there's, like, bad PR, Bill Cosby level bad PR, right? So you can't, I think there's a limit. And with video games especially, I think bad PR hits this level of consumer confidence is shaken. Nobody wants to touch it. Nobody's going to buy it. Hello, Joshua. All of a sudden, everybody starts calling me that. I'm like, that's not my name. What? All the Joshes in chat. Yeah, they're like, huh? Sorry, just woke up. You're fine. I focus mostly on single-player content because you can pause single-player but not multiplayer. Is there a membership for Reforge Radio as well? Yes. You need a membership on both channels. Each channel has such a unique identity that we feel comfortable offering that. Like, if you want to hear my wife's thoughts on really serious subjects, that's on radio. That's separate from this channel. If you want to see my wife and I play a video game and hang out on a Friday night, that's like super different. You know what I mean? It's very different vibe and very different quality. Lost a lot of friends. Those. Lono looks like a Josh or a Chuck to me. How'd you come up with the handle Lono? There's a movie with Christopher Walken and Dennis Leary in it, and my friend told me I reminded him of Dennis Leary because I would go on these rants and these tirades in the lunchroom in high school, and he was like, man, you really remind me of Dennis Leary. So I checked out Dennis Leary's stand-up and then saw that movie, and Dennis Leary's character in the movie, his name is Lono. So I started going by Lono back then. And it just stuck. I was Lono in Quake. I was Lono in all of the games and stuff that I played. It was fun. It was fun. Did somebody do a membership or a tip? I can't use my dashboard anymore. I have to use this stupid like viewer activity page on YouTube, and it doesn't work very well. So yeah, I've been Lono for a really long time. Like, I respond to Lono as a name. I do. Like, I go by Lono in this space. It's like the name Cher or Madonna or Bono, right? Like, Lono is just like my stage name, basically. And I saw no reason to stop using that. Like, we've obviously rebranded everything under the brand's name of, like, Reforge. But, yeah. Why'd you have to switch from the dashboard? The stream labels, Streamlabs, like they went and edited the descriptions of some of my videos yesterday, and I was like, well, revoking access, and that means I can't see when people do stuff. So, you, sir, are no Cher. I'm not saying I'm equal to Cher or Bono. They both emanate way more cool and talent than I ever will. I'm just saying that's what it's like. It's just a single name, right? Got the Bono level optics. I mean, kind of. Not really, though. I hope I look as good as Cher at 70. I hope we all look as good as Cher at 70. Golly. I wish that for everyone, right? That's a real way to like manifest greatness for somebody. I hope you look as good as Cher when you're 70. Those words actually came out of his mouth. They need to learn to be quiet. Yeah, that's bad. That's like, yeah, there's like two extremes in the culture now. Like, he's bringing back the old extreme of like, you know, knowing your place and this and that. Like, there's if you own the video game Battleship, have you ever seen this? Have you ever seen the original board game Battleship, the original artwork? Battleship original artwork. Have you guys ever seen this? The game? It's here it is. Here it is. It's remarkable. It's just true. It's truly remarkable. It's something we can all laugh at now, right? Hang on. I'm going to have to turn on the right capture card. So it's going to say no signal for a second. No worries. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. This one. So they've edited that part out now with the wife and the daughter in the background washing the dishes and and the father and son, you know, at the table, you know. They've edited that out. Now, I definitely think you can overstate and make this something that it's not. Like, it's not like it's not offensive. It's just like, oh golly. I think it's better just to laugh at. Like, oh boy, like, wow. Could you be more stereotypical? It makes me laugh because we have the new box and it's just the dad and son at the table. Like, the mom and daughter are gone now, right? Like, that's equality. We just murdered the mom and the daughter. Like, get them out of here. In any case, I feel like there are guys that still think that way and really espouse that like more traditional, super like old school way of thought. And I just think it's, I don't know. You know, I just don't know. Nothing wrong if people still live like that. Like, if that's what you want, right? If that's what you want, sure. If you speak broadly, though, that's where you're going to get yourself into trouble. Like, it's one thing to say, that's what I want in a mate. You're allowed to say that. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I think we've gotten so so guarded about that. Like, it's totally fine. People say that all the time, like they want to date a tall guy or a tall man, or, you know what I'm saying? I think you're perfectly fine, and it's perfectly right to have those preferences. I think trying to beat that out of people is stupid. Like, what, you should just take whatever comes your way? No, it's okay to have preferences. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with somebody saying, yeah, I'm more traditional. There's nothing wrong with finding a woman who's like, I love cooking, cleaning, and children. I want to be a homemaker. Like, and if that's what they want to do and that's them flourishing as a human, great. But acting like that's the way for women to be and exist, that's where you're going to run into problems. It's because people are going to be like, no. The 1950s called, right? They want their stereotypes back. You know. If a game developer approached you to test out and provide feedback for an upcoming game, would you take the opportunity for fun? Let's say it was paid. Yes, I would. If I'm going to play something and can't stream it to provide feedback, I would 100% do that if it was a paid opportunity. I've actually had many people tell me that I should be consulting with game companies. I've actually had people tell me that before. Like when I've done my incentivization breakdowns, loot cycle breakdowns, content loop breakdowns of video games, people are like, you should literally be like on a board somewhere you should be consulting video game design. Now, I'm not a developer, I'm not a designer, I'm not an engineer, but as a player and as someone who's covered the content and the games that I have for how long that I've done it, I would love to do that. I'd love to be involved at a design level, thinking through like incentivization systems, ongoing game systems, content loops that have micro rewards with a macro sense of progress. Like, I love all that stuff. I could totally get into that, but it'd have to be paid because I am so busy. When people like offer me a code and they want me to play the game off stream just to help test stuff, I'm like, I don't have freaking time for that. What the what? You want me to work for you for free? You know what I mean? You really have good insight, you should give it a go. Well, I don't even know how you would market yourself into that field. How the frick do you market yourself to get paid for that? I don't know. There are roles and jobs within the economy of a relationship, and parties are free to choose how to split those up, but that's not what he said. Oh, you want my feedback? They don't look too tight, but you don't look comfortable. Like, they look nice. Yeah, they look nice. They look nice, but you don't look comfortable. You look like you're... My daughter asked my wife if she could sit down in these jeans. Can you? Are you being dramatic, or are they that tight? Yeah, I don't know. If you're not comfortable, what's the point in wearing them? That's my rule with clothing. Oh, stop it. We're talking about a lot of different things now. We're talking about Cam Newton said something ignorant about like what women should do, and we're talking about people are allowed to have preferences in their relationships, but he's like espousing more of like a general. What do you say? Like, women need to learn to be quiet and cook and clean or something. So I showed them the old Battleship artwork, remember, with the mom and the daughter like washing dishes in the background. You don't remember that? My wife says, I don't know who Cam Newton is. See him? No, the dad with the sweater vest. Yeah, so that's not on our box. They've edited that out. Anyway, we were talking about that. we were talking about that. I need a Sony. That's what we were saying. It's okay to be like, that's what I want, but he was speaking like more broadly. Like, women need to, like, he was like, oh, what? I'm sure this sentence is going to be great. That's a great starter. He's a quarterback in the NFL. She doesn't know who he is. Said by the t-shirt guy? Yeah, I'm the t-shirt guy. Easy solution. I don't do well with trolls, so I'm blocking you now. What's he saying? You claim to replay all your games. BS. You claimed I started talking to you first. Also BS. What are you doing in here, Fairyman? What are you going at people for? No, I did not start talking to you. This was your first convo. I replay all my games, so stop lying. Oh. Cool. Not trying to impress a rando stranger on the internet. I replay all my games. No, he doesn't. Yeah, I don't know why you're having a go at somebody. I don't understand.
Who cares? He plays.
He said, you're full of BS. I don't believe a word you say. Why? I replay my existing games until something new comes along that I want to play, then I play that. It's called being a gamer. You should try it. I have 1,000 games that I can choose from to replay. There is no way to play them all. Right now, I am replaying Horizon Forbidden West. When I'm done, I'll do something else. I'm trying to rethread this conversation. You have 1,000 games that you replay. Maths don't lie. Where do you get the time from? Oh. So you're being pedantic because he said he replays. He has thousands of games that he replays. Like, that's where this argument started. In the last 6 weeks, I put 330 hours into Lost Ark and 70 in Elden Ring. If you're going to lie, make it plausible. I focus mostly on single-player content because you can pause. Well, it looks to me... Don't assume my game time based on your situation. I work from home, so I have all day that I can play. Really? This is the debate and the argument. When you don't replay all your games. Golly frick. Okay. Come on. Like, come on. When it's used as an argument against what I said, he maybe replays one or two, not 700 to 1,000. It's not even close at all. But what point was he arguing with that? So what was he supporting? So Ferryman, he was pushing back on something you said. What argument was he supporting by saying I play 700 to 1,000 games, like replay 700 to 1,000 games? Like, what was the original dispute? Here's a good topic. What's a game you can go back over and over for years? RimWorld is a great example. A great couple. Hang on. It's great. And every couple of years I get the itch. Yeah, I always like replaying the Ori games, Hellblade. Yeah. Because he said he replays all his games. So what, but again, what was the tension? Don't give this dude time. I blocked him. Move on. Well, he's here on a very regular basis, so, you know. I think the problem is your spouse... If you and your spouse like traditional roles, she's labeled as beaten down and is labeled as, and you're labeled as toxic masculine. Well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing that happens for sure, but, like, I don't entertain the criticisms of, like, non-intellectuals. You know what I'm saying? Like, if someone were to criticize, like, my family's situation, I'd be like, I'm not going to entertain you're not an intellectual. Because, like... If you were to measure the work and the discipline and the intelligence of, like, what my wife does, you know what I'm saying? Like, the average, like, armchair Twitter spewing like streamer bimbo that would say that. Like, I'm not saying they're all bimbos, but if they would say that about my wife, I'm like, you're just a bimbo. You probably couldn't you couldn't run a yard sale, right? Like, my wife could run a country. Do you understand? Like, the work that it takes to run a home at the level that like my wife does with respect to like the meal planning, their education, their schooling, making sure they go to like the library and they're involved in all these different programs and systems and managing the calendar and making sure we have everything that we need and planning trips and making sure that like my daughter's egg allergy is compensated for and taking care of people in our neighborhood or our community. Like, my wife could run a country. Like, you couldn't run a yard sale. Like, I'm not going to listen to some bimbo talk about that would struggle with like basic organizational skills. Like, they don't have their own lives put together. Generally speaking, people that understand those types of roles and relationships don't make that criticism. They would just be like, well, everybody's different. You know what I mean? They would have like the grace and acceptance to say, they're like, well, yeah, everybody's different. Every relationship's different. Does that make sense? Like, the people that go off on those tangents and act like that's like unfulfilling or terrible or it's just a held down woman. It's like, no, it's actually a very fulfilling life and they love it. And it takes a massive amount of skill, discipline, and sacrifice to do it. Something many people just are not cut out to do. They can't do it. It's too hard, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I actually think there are toxic versions of masculinity. I think there is a toxic masculinity brand out there that gets promoted, Orphan Twin. I do. I know you're saying, well, it's just toxic people, but I do think it's helpful to say that's actually like a toxic version of masculinity. Just like there's toxic positivity. Like, there's toxic versions of positivity. That's the issue. Everyone has to have an opinion about other people's lives. Focus on your own life and make it the best you can. Yeah, like, generally speaking, I don't even think my wife would give a second thought about that, because she would be like, I'm living a very fulfilling and satisfied life. What do I care about some person on Twitter or, some barista blogger, who has this sharp, opinion? What does she care what they think? You know what I mean? This is turning into a radio topic real quick. Yeah. I need to take a break, and we need to shift to the second stream. We're going to be shifting gears and doing a second stream about Sony investing a large amount of money in Epic, and so is Lego. And I think this is all related to Fortnite and obviously the metaverse. I know people are like, ew, the metaverse? What's that? Well, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about how I think it's all tied to Fortnite. So I'm going to briefly step away. Don't go anywhere. Consider becoming a member for all the new member content that we're offering. Press the like button, subscribe button, stick around for the second stream. Also, don't forget Reforge Radio's topic this afternoon is the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp lawsuit. And what else was I going to say? Oh, and coffee orders or any of the other sponsors. My t-shirt today comes from the Black Panther collection at 80s Tees, so you can use the shirt command, coffee command to support those other initiatives. All right, I'll be right back. I am going to hit some ads. I only do this when I step away. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Okay. All right. Chair isn't real. It's all CG. That's right. Let me get a tweet going. And then an update in the Discord for the second stream that we're going to do. We're trying double talk show, and we didn't have a good we didn't have like a good, I guess, opinion for the next one. Like, I have an opinion, like all roads lead to Fortnite. We're trying to be more opinion lead on these topics because of the nature of news right now. Like, if news dries up, we need to be able to still do a great show. And we kind of were able to ride, like, December, January to now, we were able to really just ride news. You know what I mean? Like, and not riding, like, you would get my opinion and you would get discussion, but we could basically just be like throwing news on the thumbnail and the title. So we're trying to get a little bit more into like opinion lead. So we didn't have a good opinion to put on this one. Like, obviously, I think this is heavily related to Fortnite and a lot of my predictions about what they're using Fortnite for and how there'll be some kind of a Fortnite MMO RPG at some point. And so I'm putting a link in chat. That's where we're headed. We're headed to the next talk show about that particular topic. So click the link in chat, or you can just ride the redirect. Does this discussion end with this stream or carry over? Well, which one? I don't want the radio, like the Cam Newton thing. I don't want to come with us because that's like a radio topic, right? So Ferryman says, my statement was single-player games have no future. You play them, you complete them, you never play them again with the exception of one or two. Oh, single-player games have no future? I mean, all of the industries, all the polls, all economic realities point to your statement not just being wrong because you're wrong, but wrong because it can be demonstrated. Like, what you're saying is just false. It's not true. Single-player games aren't going anywhere. They're massively successful and even preferred. So, it's not just a bad take, it's a wrong take. So, all right. Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be another episode of Reforge Gaming News covering the epic Sony news. Sony investing $1 billion in Epic. This follows announcements as well as them working with Lego on apparently the metaverse. I think this is all related to Fortnite. I'm going to try to make my case in this discussion and in this video, and we hope that you guys enjoy it. We're trying to lead stronger